Welcome back, friends and followers, to another exhilarating, fantastical, tremendous episode of Motor Hobbit. It's been a few months, I apologise. Crazy times at work and at home. Nothing bad, just really busy, which meant I have not had the time to look at the bike. But fear not, spirits are high, and we're back on the BMW K100 RS Cafe Racer project. So if you've not seen any of my videos, go check them out. We've got the bike running again, but it was a bit of a journey. I had to replace all the internals on the fuel tank. I fitted a light. We've got the bike running, which is great. I've had the forks out because I wanted to fit some clip-ons, and we discovered that the forks were bent, and we did a compression test. So if you want to find out what happened, go check them out. But for this video, what we're going to be doing is tearing the bike down because there's a few things we need to get done. Let's get to it. Right, the first thing we're going to do is take these wheels off, and you'll find out why later on in the video. But we're going to start by taking the calipers off, releasing the pinch bolts and knocking that spindle through. Hopefully it should just fall out. Right, that's the wheels off. Next up, we are going to take off this dashboard and then the fuel tank. The last time I had this running when I did the compression test, I actually pulled the power cable out. So hopefully there's not much fuel left in the lines beneath the pump because that turned the pump off. I'm sure it'll still be quite messy. But yeah, once the tank's off and the dash is off, we'll have access to everything underneath. And the main aim is clearing up this back section because we're going to be chopping it off, which is super exciting. So yeah, the objective of this teardown, if I didn't mention it before, is to sort out some space at the back so we can go about fabricating a new rear end. Right, so let's start with the lunchbox. Super simple. I don't know if these are the factory sizes, but I just dropped in two 5mm Allen keys to secure it with some nuts.
These nuts?
So this should, push these out, just pop straight off. Need to unplug these. There we go. Voila! Right, so next up is the fuel tank. I've already unplugged this little power cable. Hopefully you can see that, I'm a bit cramped in here. The only other two things to undo are these two 13mm, I believe they're 13mm Jubilee clips. Got a filthy rag in case fuel goes everywhere. But because the pump's disconnected, and as I mentioned before, I kept running the bike after I unplugged this, hopefully there's not much fuel left in these lines, but let's wait and see. So I believe the one on the right is comes out of the pump, and I believe the one on the left is like the return, fuel return, which goes back up into the tank. All right, let's get this under here. What I did last time was just kept shimmying that off, but I think I've done quite a good job of putting it back on there. It's always very awkward. You think you're doing something that's going to be super straightforward, and then it's a pain. Right, I tell you what, this is too much effort to put on camera. I'm going to stop recording now.
75 years later.
I just don't remember. I have to go back and watch the video. I do not remember it being this hard to get this on and off. Blimey. Not as easy with the pliers again though. There we go. Bosh. Right, before I take this tank off, there's one very important thing that I need to do. Measure the angle. Because we're going to be cutting off this rear subframe, I want to make sure the angle's correct, so that when we weld new stuff on, it follows the right position, so to speak. So, 0 that, and then bring that up there. So, take note, 65 degrees is the angle that the tank goes up from this downward bit on the frame. So when we weld something on, I'm going to have to make sure that it's 65 degrees off of this back thing, so that when we put the tank on, it lines up nicely. Huzzah! I feel like a pro. Now, annoyingly, I discovered a bit of weepage. Don't know if the camera can pick it up, but it's another bit of corrosion. It started weeping through there. The rest of it's held up pretty well, so I'm quite happy with that. But it just means that I'm going to have to clean up that bit there and get someone to fix that. It's annoying, but it's a nearly 40-year-old bike. So, no, it is a 40-year-old bike now. Right, this is what's left. I need to remove this fuse box. I haven't got very far in terms of working out how to actually achieve that. There's a few plugs and stuff under here. And because it's electric, so I don't want to just unplug everything willy-nilly and then just completely forgetting where it went. But I might have to do that looking at this. Right, so I've gone through most of the loom and the connections up here. I've labelled up the bits that were connected to something. There are a few connectors in here which don't appear to go to anything, so I'm not going to worry about those. But I still can't really remove anything. So I think the next step is to get this air box out. I've already taken off the snorkel, which went into the side down here. It just, 2 bolts unscrewed and it all just popped out. But there's a couple of bolts in the top here which I think I need to take off to be able to get this out. So I'm going to give that a whirl and see if it works. Right, so sadly, I can't get this bolt through. I think I'm going to have to drill it out. It's completely corroded. I guess steel bolts into aluminium. It does not want to budge. So I'm going to attempt to drill it out. So a bit of twisting has finally released this sensor. Probably get some electrical spray and give this a bit of a scrub, because that is, as you can see, absolutely vile. So now that that filter and air sensor is out, we can see what's been living inside the bike. Somehow a snail managed to get in. This is all proper rusted out as well, so I'm going to get this box off. Right, several cans of penetrant later, managed to release the bolts from these 2 holes to get the bottom of the airbox out, and now we can see a largely filthy engine. It's all perished as well. It's all in a bit of a sorry state, so I am going to have to replace all of these hoses, I think. But that can only be a good thing. Right, that is now everything unplugged. The last thing was going to this, I think they're called the coil packs, the ignition coils. There's some cables which go from that to the spark plugs. That was the last thing. So I went down into it, took the cover off. It's 4 bolts, quite simple. And yeah, it was more complicated than I was expecting. So I've made sure I've labelled up everything as clear as possible. I've taken a photo. So hopefully this should now come out. Maybe, will it lift out? Yes. This is a really daunting part of this because obviously it's electrics. And I really don't want to mess these up when it goes back together. That's absolutely filthy, so I'll probably spend some time giving this a clean off camera. But for now, I've made an absolute mess. So I'm going to set all this aside, give everything a clear up, and we'll take a view from there. Catch you in a bit. Guess what? I've just got back from Warfield. There's a place there called Wheelworks, and they have been looking after the wheels from this bike. They've had them for about a week. I've just picked them up. They've been re-powder coated, refinished, and they look tremendous. Here's the front wheel. And yes, I know what you're probably thinking, matte black's boring, but I don't care. It was affordable, and it also looks factory. So over the moon with that. Done the rear wheel as well. I have asked them to pop the tyres back on because, well, I'm nowhere near finishing this bike, so I don't want to put fresh tyres on it yet. And it allows me to get the wheels back on and move the bike around, because right now it's right in the middle of my garage and I can't do anything. Not only did I get the wheels done, I also disassembled the brakes, and I've had these re-powder coated as well because these were just disgusting. There was old flaking paint, a lot of corrosion. It just means that the whole thing is going to look a lot smarter when it goes back together. Next up is to remove this airbox. When that's out, I think then we can get easier access to these throttle bodies to remove them. There's these, I always forget the name of them, but I think they're called like ear clamps or O clamps, like these crimp things. So the plan is to jam a screwdriver into them, and hopefully I can just wiggle it about a bit enough to loosen it, and then hopefully this whole airbox and the pipe things should just pop off the top. Who knows? Let's get to it. So I've been doing a lot of fiddling and it's starting to come loose. I think it's just age. The fan's actually in the way behind there. Oh, but I don't think it'll matter now because I put it out. Yippee! So underneath these throttle bodies, there's a whole load of other Jubilee clips. It's taken a bit of fettling to get access to them because some of them are quite hidden away. For this fourth one, I've had to, I've already loosened them off, but I had to pull the throttle cable up to get access to it. So yeah, that's all free. So I've got the choke out. I had to unscrew this bit from in here. The cable kind of just tucked in like that and went down into the choke. But that's out now. So the only real hard part of this is actually removing this bloody fuel pipe. So I've got my pliers out to try and to do that, but my bloody knees are giving up. I was toying with the idea of just cutting it off. Oh, there we go. Right, that's the throttle bodies off. I have purchased some 3D printed covers to go on those 4 intakes. It should just be bolt on, bolt off. I'm hoping the bolts aren't seized, but we will see. Bit of a spanner in the works, getting some work done on the house. So although we've met our objective, which is to free up space around the rear subframe to make those modifications, I'm gonna have to get the wheels back on because I need to move this out the garage and get it out of the way for a couple of months. I will be working from a second location, so we're not gonna stop, we're gonna keep going. So without further ado, let's get these 3D printed covers on. Oh, Jesus.
Right team, teardown is pretty complete. Just finished taking the rad off, and there were other things that I've done off camera, like taking the controls off and the brakes. They're just bolt on, bolt off. I didn't record it because I didn't think it added that much value to the video. The rear wheel is back on. I just need to do the front wheel now so we can wheel this around. We're having some work done on the house, so the bike's got to be out of here like tomorrow. So that's the last thing left to do. To do that, I need to fit some new bearings. I'm not going to put the discs on completely, I'm just going to put the carriers on for now. I want to clean the discs up, but I need to have the carriers on the hub because they act as a sort of spacer to fit the wheel properly, so it's quite important they go on. So next steps are to just get those bearings in and get it back on the bike. We need to put a new bearing in here. I have here the old ones, pretty grubby and filthy. So my plan is to take one of these new ones, God I hope they're the right size, and use this previous one and a block of wood to just knock it down into position. And then after that, we have these washers which I've cleaned up, which then sit over the top, and then the axle will go through that. I wonder how long before my wife comes in and tells me to be quiet because the baby's sleeping. So because of the thickness of it, this has to kind of go on, so for the wheel to fit properly. And I've cleaned up the bolts for it, again off camera. I just put them in the end of my drill, spin it round, and just use some Scotch pad to buff it up. So it works fairly well. I can now, in theory, take it off of this jack. So I'm going to lower it down. And this is before tightening the pinch bolts. So if I didn't mention it before, according to the Haynes manual, when the bike is under its own weight, so that includes off the centre stand as well, I can then pump the forks up and down a couple of times, align the fork lower legs on the spindle, then raise the machine onto its centre stand and title the spindle clamp to the specified torque settings, which are 14. I can move it again. Happy days. The builders will be pleased. Right, well that was quite an undertaking, but we are looking good. Everything's stripped out. We now have loads of space around the back of the bike to work out how we're going to proceed there in terms of chopping off the end of it and sort of welding together a new swing arm section. The wheels are back on the bike so we can move it around, which means the builders can get in now. Really pleased. Now the real work starts. I'll see you next time.